Hi, I'm Lauren Edmonds. I'm the founder and owner of a school that supports children with learning delays. I'm hoping the space gives you something to think about. I want to talk a little bit about connection with children and why it's important, why you should be looking for it, why other people are talking about it, and how we go about it. Some practical tips on what you can do. So I want you to think about connection with your children, specifically if you've got young children, is what kind of connection are you trying to create for when they're older? Because parenting is actually a long game. It's not a short fix. It's not a quick fix. You're going to be a parent to your children for the rest of your life, and for a huge majority of theirs. So what are you trying to accomplish when they're younger with the end goal in mind, with the long-term view in mind? I've been saying recently, what kind of 25-year-old are you trying to raise, rather than looking at your 6-year-old and going, no, that's okay. When perhaps it shouldn't be okay, because it might be the start of a trajectory of them not coping when they're older. So there used to be something which I don't see spoken about much these days, but it was spoken about around 20 years ago when my kids were young, and certainly when before I was even a parent around my own parents, is, do we laugh at children when they do things that are inappropriate but are cute when they're young? And I know I grew up in an era where the parents didn't laugh at their children when they swore. They had a good giggle afterwards, that night behind a closed door when they were away from their kids, but in front of their kids, they took it very seriously and they said, no, we don't do that here. But I don't see a lot of that happening at the moment. I feel like we've moved into this permissive parenting era where we allow children to do whatever they want. We find it funny. We think it's cute. And all of those things are reinforcing to the child that what I'm doing is funny and cute and acceptable, and I'm going to carry on doing it. So we deal with a lot of kids at our school where they might be screaming or biting or punching or whatever they're doing. And the more we make that acceptable when they're young, or at the least, we don't do anything to stop it. I'm always saying when they're 6 years old, it's relatively manageable, because a child that's kicking you when they're 6, they're not hurting you. But when they're 15, they really are hurting you. And when they're 25, we're calling the police. So how we react and behave around children when they are behaving in ways that if we transport them to being an adult, would that be acceptable? If the answer is no, then it cannot be acceptable when they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Because that is the time when we're molding and shaping them. So this links into this idea of connecting with your children, but it's not just I'm sitting down and I'm calling, saying, hey, and how you doing and how was your day? That's just a conversation. That's not what connection means. Connection means I'm observing you. I'm your parent. I'm raising you. I want to be part of your life. I want you to feel connected to me. That's the biggest thing. You want your child to feel safe and connected to you, so that when they're 25 or 30 or even 21 and they get themselves into trouble, which all of us do because we're going through different experiences in life, when something big happens and they need help, they come to you. They feel safe to come to you because they feel connected to you. Not because you're permissive. I've seen this. I've seen young adults not go to parents that were permissive because they didn't feel like that parent had enough character and enough chutzpah in order to deal with something. So often the permissive parents are not being turned to by their older children because those older children don't believe those parents are capable of handling big situations. So we're not looking at that. We're looking at you as a parent, that connection, starting from when they're very young, starting from when they're born, developing that connection, that secure, safe, I'm here for you, I'm consistent, I'm grounded, I'm not going to flip out. If I do something wrong, I'm able to say sorry and repair the relationship. I'm modeling to you how to make mistakes. I'm modeling what good values are. I'm modeling what good decisions are. I'm helping you to make them. I'm not tolerating behavior that is socially unacceptable or doesn't fit in with what kind of adult I want you to be, but I'm very encouraging of behavior that is productive. Are you going to be somebody that can set a clear vision and goal and work towards it? Or are you going to be somebody that sits back and does nothing and makes everybody else do the work? Are you a good delegate? If you want your kid to be a good leader, what kind of values are you putting into your child even at the age of 5? Are they collaborative? Can they get over conflict easily? Can they manage conflict? Can they get over hurts? Do they understand their feelings? And all of this is slowly building up. But we've got to be very careful to connect with our child with where they're at developmentally. You can look at their age and their grade, but children are not robots. They're not all developmentally at the same place when they're the same age and in the same grade as their peers. So you're getting that as a view, as a sort of an overview of where they should be at, and then you look at your actual child. Where are they at developmentally? And how do I slowly walk them up the developmental path? Because I can't treat a 5-year-old as if they're 10. Certainly can't even treat a 5-year-old who's got developmental delays as a 5-year-old. I've got to meet them where they're at and walk them up this path, forgetting when our children are really struggling, we need to forget this idea of grade 1 through grade 12. And we need to say the idea of walking your kids through education and your development from where you are to where you need to be as an adult, and the grades and the system and what helps you to get there adds to your path. You don't necessarily fit in with the system's path, if that makes sense. So one of the things that you want to be able to do is through connecting with your kids and making yourself available to them and giving them the strong feeling that you are there for them and you listen, is to create multiple opportunities where you listen to them. And the time-old opportunity is dinner time around the table. And I feel that we were losing it 15 years ago. It got worse sort of 2018, 2019. And in the last 5 years, it seems to have almost collapsed. And it's the single most simple, easy opportunity to create this bond with your child so that when they're 25, they're not creating huge havoc for you. So we think that our parenting stops at 18, 19, 20. It does not. It carries on forever. Because when you're in trouble, you turn to your parent. And if you're 35, 40, 45 now, you're still turning to your parent for assistance, they're going to be still turning to you. Or at least you want them to be able to turn to you, unless you feel like cutting them off at 18 and pretending like they don't exist anymore, which is, of course, not what we want to do. But all of that starts with a simple something like dinner time. So dinner time can be made into something so much more. It can be bonding of the whole family where everybody participates. It can be development of visual motor integration and bilateral skills. All of these things that the OTs want, we actually should want for our children, that the OTs are supporting the development. We want them to be able to lay a table. We want them to be able to have conversation with us, because that's what we want them to be able to do when they're 25. And we don't develop that skill at 25. We develop it at the age of 4. Maybe even 3, definitely the age of 5, 6, 7, 8. They're setting the table, you're cooking the dinner, we're dishing up, we're sitting all together, our phones are in another room, they're turned off, we don't hear the binging. We might have music in the background, but we certainly have no TV, no movies, nothing like that around. And we actually chat to each other. And then the question is, well, what are you chatting about? So it's very tempting for mom and dad to have a conversation, an adult conversation about their day, but that could be done later after the kids go to bed. What's happening now is you've got your family around the table. Now, what are we going to talk about? And there's a movie with Michelle Pfeiffer and Bruce Willis. I think it's called The History of Us, or About Us. I'll have to look that up. But there's a scene. So the movie is about the two of them are in the process. Their marriage is unraveling and they're in process of getting divorced. And it's the movie flips between their conversations and family interaction and how they manage this process. And the one thing they do is there's the scene where they're having dinner and Bruce Willis's character goes, right, high-low. And it's so simple. And when I watched this movie, I implemented it straight away because of the value behind it. And we start with high-low, and everybody gets a chance. Every single person, anyone who's sitting around the table, including you and Dad, you're going, what's your high point for the day? What's your low point for the day? Now, you model it for them in terms of what it is you think a high point and a low point is. So my day, let's say this morning, it's arrived, I'm recording this around about 11 o'clock in the day. It's a Saturday, so I might say, sure, the high point for my day was the sky cleared up, and the sun came out, and I've recently cut the hedge, so I got to see the sunrise more clearly, and that was wonderful. The low point was I forgot I put my breakfast on the stove, and it burnt, and now I've got to clean the pot. So what I'm modeling is that low points don't have to be catastrophes, and high points don't need to be these massive, I got this incredible award and I got the best in the class and, my life is amazing. It's not about that. It's everyday little things, because the high is opening up children to understanding gratitude, noticing life, being grounded and present in their life, and focusing on a positive. Because it's so easy nowadays to to catastrophize everything and negative and focus on what's going wrong. What's the high point? I had my daughter once. She jumped in the car. I picked her up. She was in high school at that time, and we were just doing high low, because we started doing it in other spheres as well, not just dinner time. And I said high low for the day, and she said hi. My sandwich was kind of nice today. And she didn't have any other highs. And I normalized that for her. Oh, that's a great high. We all want our sandwich to be nice. And then the low at that point was, no, I can't think of any. Okay, that's fine, because we did it every single day. So there's no pressure to come up with a high and low. It's a fun thing, but you want it to be real. And the high, as I said, is helping children to focus on, name one good thing that happened to you today. And then the low, what the low is doing, it's giving them the opportunity to tell you, sure, this was heavy and this was terrible. My sandwich dropped in the mud. Or my bag was really heavy today. Or could be something huge, like I came out of the bathroom and my dress was tucked in my underwear and everybody laughed. Now, your reaction to the high is, that sounds great. I'm so glad you had that experience today. Thank you for sharing it. Something like that. And then your reaction to the low is, sure, that must have been tough. Because it was tough to have my breakfast burned. I mean, they're both tiny and I could solve that quite quickly. And it's also tough to have people laugh at you. And there's a saying that I really think fits into this, and I appreciate and I enjoy remembering and seeing. The saying is, when your children tell you the small things when they're small, they will tell you the big things when they're big. And in fact, the small things were never small, and the big things are never something that is unmanageable. So when you react to them going, my sandwich fell in the dirt, and your reaction is, oh, but that's nothing and that's not a low point and get over it. Now imagine them coming to you as a young adult and saying, Mom, I think I have an eating disorder. They're anticipating you saying, oh, that's nothing, just get over it. They're not going to come to you for help, because that's not something you just get over. When they come to you and they say, I'm really struggling, life is really hard, I want them to come to you because they know your response to the low points has always been, sure, that sounds hard. Tell me more. What do you think I can do to help you? I can do these things. I can take over this for you. Do you think you can come to the party and do these things? Because you don't want to take over their problems. You want them to sit with their problems, but you want to be right next to them as they deal with it, and developing their skills and giving them resources. Now, when they're 25 and they've got financial difficulties, you might be giving them money from a resource point of view, or not, depending on where you're at and what's happening. When they're 10 years old, it's not about that. It's about something else. It's about maybe giving them different options, different things they can say to somebody who might be being mean to them on the playground. You're always giving them the resources so that they can go and solve their own problems. That's how they develop the skill. They need to develop the skill of solving their own problems from when they're little, from when they are even 2 years old, even younger sometimes. If they trip and fall, I know I started walking when I was 9 months old. If I had fallen and hit my head at 9 months old, I would need my mom to be right there with me. Oh, I see that was hard, and I see your head has been hurt. Would you like to sit with me? Can I soothe you a little bit? But not, oh, silly child, and not, that table should not be in the way. Because what you're doing is you're taking the child's experience away and you're making it about something outside of them. So when they're 25 and they come to you and they say, I've had a car accident, your response can't be, well, somebody else must have been at fault. And it's got to be, sure, that's hard. Okay, how are you? What's happening at the moment? What do you need to do next? Can I be here with you when you phone the insurance company? Okay, let's deal with this. And in that, again, at that high level, just like when they tripped and fell when they were 2 years old, they are developing those skills, those self-soothing, self-management, self-reliance, self-resource skills, so that when they come to you when they're 40, all you're really doing is sitting with them going, I'm so proud of you. You're handling things so beautifully. And again, anything that I can help you with, what can I do for you? And it all starts with that little conversation around the dinner table with no distractions, where everybody around the table is very present, and you as a child, you're looking up at your parents and you're thinking, they're here for me. I'm not alone in this world. They see me. They listen to me. I feel safe. And it happens around the dinner table, and it happens with a simple high-low game that gets everybody chatting and safe enough to say these big things. And I've seen it happen with girls and boys who have had things happen to them in the day when their parents weren't around, perhaps at school or at a party or out with their friends, and they've been had the safety to tell their parents this big thing that's happened, in comparison to families where the child does not feel safe to tell the parent these things. Who is the child turning to if they're not turning to you? And if they're turning to their peers, then we have a problem. And Gabor Mate and Gordon Newfield wrote a book, Hold On to Your Children. And the premise around this was, don't allow your children's friends to raise your children for you. You raise your children. You be the safe place. It's the best way to have your adult children be wonderful, incredible, independent human beings. Because the alternative is, they're struggling, they're hurting, they have a failed adult life, and perhaps they, almost at its worst, they never move out of home because they've never felt confident and competent and safe enough to move away from you. Children are able to move away from you when they know that you're there when they come back. You know, none of us will go out and swim in the waters if we don't think the shore is there. But we don't need to cling on to the shore in order to swim. In fact, that's not how we swim at all. We need to swim out into the grand waters, still knowing that the shore, the continent, the country, the beach is there. An old client of mine, the dad swam the English Channel, and the rules are you're not allowed to touch anything while you're swimming across, but you still have a safety boat. And the safety boat is not allowed to come near you. You're not allowed to reach out and touch a person. You can't even touch the boat. Otherwise, it's disregarded. You are then disqualified in terms of the rules and having achieved this thing. So you swim alone. But when you look up, when you're swimming, you see your safety boat and you know, I'm not alone. I'm swimming on my own. I'm doing it myself. But when I look up, if I'm in huge trouble, that safety boat will pull me out of the water and I'll be okay. And that's the kind of parent you want to be. You don't want to put your kid in the boat and then go across the English Channel and then tell them they swam it when they didn't. Or you don't want to throw them in the water, tie a rope to them and drag them across the channel and tell them they swam it when they didn't. They need to swim their own race. And you need to be right there. Now, this dad that was telling me the story, it was quite remarkable because he said at one point, while he was swimming and he's freezing cold, I'm not too sure where in the swim he was, and he looks up and he can't see his safety boat because a huge whale has swum up next to him and he's literally swimming next to him. But he still knew the boat was there. It was just out of sight for a moment. And because he knew the boat was there, even though he couldn't see it, even with that huge whale next to him, he could very comfortably calm his nervous system and swim next to the whale and know that this was a remarkable experience. And that if anything went wrong, his safety boat would be there in an instant. But he didn't need the safety boat at that point. He just needed to know it was there. And that's what parenting is really about, is building up that connection and that trust so that your kids know when they move away from you, that you're still there. You're still available to them. And that feeling starts from when they're really young. So build, first of all, the habit, the routine of having dinner around a dinner table, because quite literally it shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. We introduced lunch in our school and we've got a 15-minute timer. Even that is slightly long. And they know it's beautiful because we put the timer up and they know it's no more than 15 minutes and they know it's not eating into their break time, that they're still going to get their full 30 minutes of break. They're able to self-soothe and sit at the table and continue to sit while one or two other kids are finishing their food, because when the timer goes, they can get up and go. We're not getting resistance. They don't feel like they need to fight the system. They understand the boundaries. and they sit and they wait, and then it's finished and they go. And we've built trust with them that when the 15 minutes is up, we're not going to keep them for another minute or two. They're going to go. So we're building boundaries, we're building structure, we're building habits, and we're building trust through this process. And you can do the same thing with dinner at night. They're not losing out on anything else. It's 15 minutes. Let's sit at the dinner table, phones away for 15 minutes. I think as adults, we can also see that 15 minutes is nothing in terms of putting your work away or whoever else you're talking to on your phone. Just do 15 minutes. We're all very present. Mom and dad aren't having a side conversation. We're all conversing together. And the high-low is such a beautiful start to developing that relationship and that conversation. Because if you go around the table and everybody has a turn, including mom and dad who model it, and of course you're not giving them the highs and lows like adult versions of it, my business is about to collapse. That's not what you bring to your children's lives. That creates more anxiety. You keep it nice and tame and you model for the kids what you want them to say. So, but also bring the lows, and you can come up with lows like, I got cut off by a taxi and I slammed on brakes and sure, I almost hit him, but I didn't. Thank goodness. That's a reasonable low, and you can model to them how you regulated and how you thought about it and how you solved the problem while you're talking about the lows. And you can model to them the gratitude, the high, how beautiful it was and how it made you calm and how it made you feel and how you could move on to your next task with that feeling and you took it with you. So you're modeling all of that thought process. But it really just starts with 15 minutes at the end of the day. You're all present and you're all connected. I hope that makes some kind of sense. I hope you can find some value in it and turn it into something of your own.